Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video, wherever you are, whatever you may be doing. Thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd Family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. If you jump on here live here on this Thursday evening, feel free to leave a comment in the comment section down below. Make sure to give the video a like, a thumbs up. If you have not yet subscribed, please do so and share the video on all social media platforms. Good evening, Kevron. Go Tigers. Hello, Marcus. Glad to have you here. Tonight I want to talk about the NBA draft. Good evening, Austin. Glad to have you here. Now, I will say I've been listening to sports talk all day long ever since about 5:30 this morning. And I've heard about 4 or 5 different hosts in 4 or 5 different markets because, as I've said before, I try my best to skip around, not listen to, one market all the time, because I like to know how each fan base in each market in each city is feeling. Yes, Austin, I've got a benefit show for SWA Saturday night, and the majority of the conversations today have been each host in each market is pretty much talking about how awful ESPN's presentation has become. And I find it funny because I've spent the better part of 4.5 years here on this channel bashing ESPN. Every chance I get to bash ESPN, I'll do it. ESPN's been a joke for 10 years now, and I'm just glad to know that people are finally starting to understand that and finally starting to see that. So I've seen a total of 0 seconds of the NBA draft because I refuse to watch ESPN. But it seems like, just from reading about it, that ESPN's tried to turn the NBA draft into the NFL draft, because just reading on the internet trying to see, who's going where, it starts at, 8 o'clock Eastern time, for example, and you get on Google at 8:30 and there's been one pick, which is about what you'd see in 30 minutes of watching the NFL draft. About the only draft that's watchable now is the Major League Baseball draft, because they do it the right way. They just tell you who got drafted where, why they think they got drafted, if they're a good fit or not, and go to the next pick. All this nonsense of waiting 35 minutes between picks is an absolute joke. Hey there, Mousy. Glad to have you here. Hey there, John. Glad to have you here. But the worst thing that the NBA draft does, and they've done this for many years, and I think it's so stupid. Your name is, I'm going to assume that's pronounced Usev, and today's your birthday. Well, happy birthday. And if I pronounced your name wrong, I apologize. Hey there, Brick. Glad to have you here. The NBA's done this for years, and people are finally starting to notice it, and I don't understand why they do it, but more so than any other draft, the NBA, let's say last night they had 30 first-round picks. 10 of those players were traded, but you make them still stand up and take a picture of the team that drafts them, even though they've gotten traded, so they're never going to play for that team. The NBA right now is still in the 2024-2025 physical season. They won't change seasons until, I think it's July 5th, 6th, somewhere along in there. It's the first full week in July, right after the 4th. And that'll be when they turn the page to the 2025 season. So if you got drafted in the NBA draft by a certain team and got traded, you'll never go down in the record books as playing for that team. So why do they make you take a picture with the hat on of a team that you're never going to play for. It makes absolutely zero sense. It is the stupidest thing that anybody can do, and I don't understand it at all. But I wanted to come on here and talk about the top 10 picks from last night, not the entire first round, just the top 10 picks. And Brick, if you're an LSU fan, I'm still glad to have you here. I like to have fans from any college, any pro team, anywhere. Hey there, Eddie. Glad to have you here. So, Brick, if you're an LSU fan, tell your friends, tell your family about the channel. Hey there, Moo. Glad to have you here. The first overall draft pick last night, which surprised a total of nobody, was Cooper Flagg. He's been talked about as being the first pick since probably March. So I think everybody knew he was going to be the first pick. Another stupid reason why it made no sense that ESPN makes you wait 30 minutes to find out Cooper Flagg goes first. We've known that since February. You could have came on, and most people knew that the number 2 pick, the Spurs, Dylan Harper, was going to be the number 2 pick. So the top 2 picks were no secret to anybody. So they could have came on last night and started with the 3rd pick, and nobody would have cared because we knew Cooper Flagg was going 1, and most people knew, even if you're not a diehard NBA fan, you knew that Dylan Harper from Rutgers was going to the Spurs. And I got a thought on Rutgers coming up here in just a minute, but the 3rd pick from the Philadelphia 76ers, they drafted VJ Edgecombe from Baylor. The Hornets drafted Con Knipple of Duke. And the Jazz drafted Ace Bailey of Rutgers. So Rutgers had Dylan Harper, number 2 overall, to the Spurs, and Ace Bailey, number 5 overall, to Rutgers. And the funny thing about Ace Bailey, before I make my Rutgers comment, was that Ace Bailey pretty much told the Jazz in no uncertain terms, in any way he could possibly tell the Jazz, don't draft me, because word's been going around now for a couple of weeks that the Jazz were going to draft Ace Bailey. He's pretty much told them, I don't want to play for you. You know, you suck. You have sucked. You're going to keep sucking. I don't want to play in Utah. Don't draft me. And the Jazz pretty much said, no, we're going to draft you. And they did. But Rutgers had 2 of the top 5 players in the NBA draft last night. And they were 14 and 17 in college basketball this year. So for them to have 2 of the best 5 players in America and finish 14 and 17, that tells you that the rest of their team is absolutely pitiful. Number 6, Trey Johnson from Texas goes to the Washington Wizards. And my Pelicans continue to baffle me. I think they have no idea what they're doing. Joe Dumars is now in charge of the team, and I think he's clueless. I don't think he understands that basketball is not what it was 20 years ago. I think he's got good intentions. I just think he's been away from the game so long that he's lost touch with reality. Maybe I'm wrong, but they draft Jeremiah Fears from Oklahoma. He's not a scorer. He might give you 10 points a game, half on free throws. He's just not going to shoot the ball a whole lot. He's a point guard, an undersized point guard, and you traded C.J. McCollum, who was one of your best players, and then you draft a guy that's not going to score, whereas C.J. was a big-time scorer. Makes zero sense. The Nets drafted BYU star Igor Demin. The Raptors drafted Colin Murray Boyles from South Carolina. Hey there, David. Glad to have you here. And a little known fact that you may not know is the Raptors drafting Colin Murray Boyles from South Carolina. He's the first Gamecock to be drafted in the first round of the NBA draft since 2006. And that year it was Ronaldo Balkman. Now, Ronaldo Balkman still plays overseas. So if you're a Raptors fan, you hope that the Colin Murray Boyles draft and picking him works out better than Ronaldo Balkman, because Ronaldo Balkman averaged like 5 points a game in the NBA, and he's been overseas for 15 years, been very successful overseas, but he was never what he's supposed to be in the NBA. So if you're a Raptors fan, you hope, or if you're a Gamecocks fan, you hope that Colin Murray Boyles works out better from the Gamecock side than Ronaldo Balkman. I can recall Ronaldo Balkman playing for South Carolina, and he was really, really good. Been good overseas, but in the NBA, it just didn't work out. And the final pick I'll talk about, the Houston Rockets. Speaking of trades, they drafted a player from Duke, and he was traded to the Phoenix Suns. They drafted Carmen Malak, and he is going to the Phoenix Suns. Hey there, OWW. Glad to have you here. And OWW, I don't grab my camera. It sits right where it's at until I get done. Thank you for asking. I'm scared if I tried to touch it or move it, I would knock it down and I would destroy it. So I don't try. It sits there until I get done. Any thoughts on any of this? Please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. The coolest letter in the alphabet is B. Why? Because it's between the AC. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.